Hi, this is Dave from Turbot. If you're looking for short videos on Guardrails features, you're in the right spot.
In this video, we're going to take a look at the new notifications feature within Turbot Guardrails. First, I'll log into my Guardrails environment using Google OAuth. You can see here that I have a number of accounts imported into my demo environment. I've configured this environment with two notification types. Here we'll just look for notification rule. You can see I have two notifications set up. The first one will notify me anytime a control goes from OK state to alarm state. And the second control will fire anytime there is an action on a security group resource. Notification rules are completely customizable by you and your team. Using Turbot's built-in federated authentication and single sign-on, I'm going to log into an AWS account, go to the S3 console. One of the rules that we have set up, one of the controls we have set up in Turbot is to ensure that all buckets have bucket versioning enabled. So here you can see that this bucket, 10K bucket with KMS, has bucket versioning enabled. I'm going to disable that by selecting suspend, acknowledging the change. With that set, Turbot will now immediately get that notification that the bucket policy has been changed, and that will trigger an alarm. Here, if I go to my email and refresh, you can see that we just received an alarm. The 10K bucket with KMS, bucket versioning, went from OK status to alarm. And I have the same notification set up in Slack. You can see the exact same notification using our default template for Slack. All of these notification templates are customizable by you, the end user. For your particular needs, you can add your own branding or even links to internal systems or documentation. And again, these notifications work for Slack, for Teams, and for email. Another cool feature that you can include in your template are these links back to Turbot Quick Actions. Here, I can easily enable versioning on this bucket by clicking the Enable Versioning Quick Action. That takes me right back to the Turbot console. I can confirm the action here. Here you can see that the versioning is enabled. And if I go back to AWS, simply refresh this bucket, you'll see that versioning has been re-enabled on the bucket. So that's great, and a great example of a manual alarm with a manual action to restore that. What about the cases where Turbot really shines, where we do automatic remediation? Well, I have another control set up in this demo environment to ensure security group access is limited. So let's go to the EC2 console and go to security groups. I'll take this Launch Wizard security group, and here you can see there are no currently configured security group ingress rules on this particular security group. If I add one, let's add a rule here just to allow access in from the default route. Obviously, this would be insecure in an enterprise environment, and we'd want to remove it. As soon as we do this, Turbot gets that notification from AWS, it evaluates it, and then assesses whether that change is within your rule set or outside of your rule set. If I go back over to Slack, I can see that I've received two notifications. This first notification tells me that the control went from OK to alarm, and the second notification tells me that Turbot actually remediated the security group and revoked the unapproved ingress rules. If I return to the EC2 console and refresh, you can see that Turbot has removed that security group. Well, what happens if I get a flood of events? I don't necessarily want Turbot to fill up my email with a bunch of notifications if I'm getting hundreds or thousands of notifications. We've definitely thought of that use case as well. If I return to the Guardrails console and go to Policies, you can see here for bucket versioning, my current setup is to check that bucket versioning is enabled. I have about 70 buckets in this account. If I simply switch this value from check enabled to check disabled, that will immediately put all 70 of those controls into alarm state. Let's go ahead and do that. I can see here that if I go to the resource controls, again, search for bucket versioning, and here I see that I have 69 controls in alarm state within the environment. So let's take a look at the notifications that I'm receiving now. You can see here that I started receiving individual notifications from Guardrails. As a matter of fact, I received 19 new messages from Guardrails, and then that triggered a batch mode for notifications. So as soon as I received that 20th notification, the Guardrails notification system switched into batch mode. Here in a minute, I will receive a batch of the other 50 controls that went into alarm state.
1 minute later.
And there it is. You can see this last notification, 3 top level ones, and then I get a link to view all 50 notifications. Guardrails has batched those 50 notifications into a single message for me in Slack. If I click through to this link, I can actually see the details behind each of those notifications in the console. If I'm in my email, my template shows me every one of the individual controls. So obviously in email, you have some flexibility to iterate through those and include them in the email, because you can have one email with many controls. In Slack and in Teams, our default templates provide you a link out to the Turbot console to be able to see those notifications and see the details behind them. I hope that gives you a great understanding of our new notifications feature for Slack, for Teams, and for email.
Thank you for watching. If your organization could benefit from Turbot Guardrails, get started today by visiting us at turbot.com/guardrails. See the video description below for links and details.